connect and become something. It says I'm live. I could be live. Am I live? Hello, Kate. First one in on the chat. Well done. I like this book too. This is among my favorites. Dad was always particularly good with the Dr. Seuss books, and I'm going to get started on another. We're going to give it a few moments. Let a few people get in. See if there's anything more than just the just the one now. Okay, people coming and going. So, greetings, good evening, people, as you join me. Here I am sitting as so many. Yeah. So, who is in here with me? Is it me? Is it just me? Maybe that's me watching me. I know it's a Walker phone. I wonder if that's Rach herself or it's still Kate. Seems like you might be the only one watching for the moment. That's all right. One's more than enough. I'll give it a few minutes just to let people potentially catch up. It's a bit later in the night, perhaps. Let's see if anybody else is dropping by. Thanks, Rach. Thanks for subscribing. I think that makes it 10 now. I have 10 subscribers. I didn't actually wasn't going to put it on this YouTube thing because it's got a bunch of random stuff on it that's not really trying to do anything. I was going to start doing these on my Swiss Technique page. I'm going to put all my voiceover stuff when it happens. Some links to share there soon too. But with 2 in and a couple of minutes to run, feel free to share the link and get others in on it. And we'll see how we go with. So, it's Kate. Hello again, Kate. So, looks like it's just you and me, Kate, and that's fine. I'm going to get started very shortly. Okay. Close that off so it doesn't distract me. And close that. That's good. All right. Thank you for subscribing, Kate. I think you'll be my 10th subscriber. And so we'll give it to, what's this, 5 minutes. So give it 1 more minute, Kate. You reckon that's okay? Or should we give people longer? You're the one calling the shots right now because nobody else is here. Just you and me and whoever else is watching over your shoulder. But let's say we give it to a minute or a moment. And then I'll get started on this one. Okay. Let's see if we do this. We go there. just post this up. And we have a second online. Lovely. Any moment now, my computer will. Yeah. Okay. Oh, somebody else here. Okay. Well, that's almost 6 minutes. I think that's a pretty good time to start. And tonight's book, today's book, or tomorrow's book, if you're watching from the far side of the planet, is Horton Hatches the Egg. Huh. Now, can I ask a question of everybody out there? Is that backwards for you? Because it's backwards for me. It's going to make reading this a bit different. I'm going to have to read the page and then show it to you. So this is a little bit less like Dad does, because Dad used to be able to read them facing away from himself. Clever like that. But yes, here we go. I wonder if I can change that in a setting. I wonder if that's a setting. Anyway. Horton Hatches the Egg. Dr. Suess. Sighed Maisie, a lazy bird hatching an egg. I'm tired, and I'm bored, and I've kinks in my leg. From just sitting here day after day. It's work, and I hate it. I'd much rather play. I'd take a vacation, fly off for a rest, if I could find someone to stay on my nest. If I could find someone, I'd fly away free. Then Horton, the elephant, passed by a tree. Hello, called the lazy bird, smiling her best. You've nothing to do, and I do need a rest. Would you like to sit on the egg in my nest? The elephant laughed. I've all silly things. I haven't feathers, and I haven't wings. Me on your egg? Why, that doesn't make sense. Your egg is so small, ma'am, and I'm so immense. Tut tut, answered Maisie. I know you're not small, but I'm sure you can do it. No trouble at all. Just sit on it softly. You're gentle and kind. Come on, be a good fellow. I know you won't mind. I can't, said the elephant. Please, begged the bird. I won't be gone long, sir. I give you my word. I'll hurry right back. Why, I'll never be missed. Very well, said the elephant. Since you insist. You want a vacation? Go, fly off and take it. I'll sit on your egg, and I'll try not to break it. I'll stay and be faithful. I mean what I say. Toodaloo, sang out Maisie, and fluttered away. First thing to do, murmured Horton. Let's see. First thing to do is to prop up this tree and make it much stronger. That has to be done. Before I get on it, I must weigh a ton. Oh, goodness. Just for me then. Then carefully, tenderly, gently, he crept up the trunk to the nest where the little egg rests. Then Horton the elephant smiled, "Now that's that." And he sat, and he sat, and he sat, and he sat. He sat all that day, and he kept the egg warm. He sat all that night through a terrible storm. It poured and it lightened, it thundered, it rumbled. "This isn't much fun," the poor elephant grumbled. "I wish she'd come back, 'cause I'm cold and I'm wet. I hope that Maisie bird doesn't forget." But Maisie, by this time, was far beyond reach, enjoying the sunshine way off in Palm Beach, and having such fun, such wonderful rest, decided she'd never go back to her nest. So Horton kept sitting there, day after day, and soon it was autumn. The leaves blew away, and then came the winter, the snow and the sleet, and icicles hung from his trunk and his feet. But Horton kept sitting and said with a sneeze, "I'll stay on this egg, and I won't let it freeze. I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful, 100%. Poor Horton. So poor Horton sat there the whole winter through. And then came the springtime, with troubles anew. His friends gathered round, they teased him, and they yelled, "How absurd! Horton the elephant thinks he's a bird!" They laughed and they laughed, then they all ran away. And Horton was lonely. He wanted to play. But he sat on the egg and continued to say, "I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful, 100%. No matter what happens, this egg must be tended." But poor Horton's troubles were far, far from ended. For while Horton sat there, so faithful, so kind, 3 hunters came sneaking up, softly behind. Oh no. He heard the men's footsteps. He turned with a start. 3 rifles were aiming straight right at his heart. Did he run? He did not. Horton stayed on that nest. He held his head high, and he threw out his chest, and he looked at the hunters as much as to say, "Shoot if you must, but I won't run away. I said what I meant, and I meant what I said. An elephant's faithful. 100%. But the men did shoot, much to Horton's surprise. They dropped their 3 guns and stared with wide eyes. "Look!" they all shouted. "Can such a thing be? An elephant sitting on top of a tree! It's strange, it's amazing, it's wonderful, new! Don't shoot him! We'll catch him! That's just what we'll do! Let's take him alive! Why, he's terribly funny! We'll sell him back home to a circus for money!" And the first thing he knew, they had built a big wagon with ropes on the front for the pullers to drag on. They dug up his tree and they put it inside. With Horton so sad, he practically cried. "We're off!" the men shouted, and off they all went, with Horton unhappy 100%. Good thing they took those supports with them too. Up out of the jungle, up into the sky, up over the mountains, 10,000 feet high. Then down the mountains, and down to the sea, with the cart, with the elephant, nest, and tree. Then out of the wagon, and onto a ship, and over the ocean, and oh, what a trip! Rolling and tossing and splashed with the spray. And Horton said day after day after day, "I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. But oh, I am seasick 100%. Oh, poor Horton. No fun to be seasick. After bobbing around for 2 weeks like a cork, they landed at last in the town of New York. "All ashore!" the men shouted, and down with a lurch went Horton, the elephant, still on his perch, tied onto a board that could just scarcely hold him. Bump landed Horton, and then the men sold him. Goodness. Sold to a circus. Then week after week, they showed him to people at 10 cents a peek. They took him to Boston, to Kalamazoo, Chicago, Weehawken, and Washington too, to Dayton, Ohio, St. Paul, Minnesota, to Wichita, Kansas, to Drake, North Dakota. And everywhere thousands of folks flocked to see and laugh at the poor elephant up in a tree. Poor Horton grew sadder the farther he went. But he said, as he sat in the hot, noisy tent, "I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful, 100%. Then, one day, the circus show happened to reach a town way down south, not so far from Palm Beach. And dawdling along way up high in the sky, who of all people, should chance to fly by. But that old good-for-nothing bird runaway Maisie, and spying the flags and tents just below, she sang out, "Oh, what fun! Why, I'll go to the show!" And she swooped from the clouds through an open tent door. "Good gracious!" gasped Maisie. "I've seen you before." Poor Horton looked up with his face white as chalk. He started to speak, but before he could talk, there rang out the noisiest, ear-splitting squeaks from the egg that he'd sat on for 51 weeks. A thumping, a bumping, a wild, alive scratching. "My egg!" shouted Horton. "My egg? Why, it's hatching!" "But it's mine!" screamed the bird when she heard the egg crack. The work was all done. Now she wanted it back. "It's my egg," she sputtered. "You stole it from me. Get off of my nest. Get out of my tree." Poor Horton backed down with a sad, heavy heart. But at that very instant, the egg burst apart. And out of the pieces of red and white shell, from the egg that he'd sat on so long and so well, Horton the elephant saw something whiz. It had ears, and a tail, and a trunk, just like his. Goodness me. And the people came shouting, "What's all this about?" They looked, and they stared, with their eyes popping out. And they cheered, and they cheered, and they cheered more and more. They'd never seen anything like it before. "My goodness! My gracious!" they shouted. "My word! It's something brand new! It's an elephant bird!" And it should be. It should be. It should be like that. Because Horton was faithful. He sat and he sat. He meant what he said. And he said what he meant. Maisie. And they sent him home, happy, 100%. I'm not quite sure that's how biology works, but it's a good tale. And there's Horton the elephant and all his ridiculous friends. Just imagine the explaining he'd have to do. But there we go. There's another one. Hope you all enjoyed that. For those who are here, say good day everybody else who's not Kate. And I've got a couple more Dr. Seuss books here to read as well, and I might try and find some other smaller books to read, and may put more of these up in the future. So, hopefully, might be able to get maybe one. Maybe we'll do one of these other stories. How many people on at the moment have got time for another small story? I don't want to keep the kids up too long. But we show of hands in the chat of who might like to hear another short story from Yertle the Turtle and other stories. So I may just read it now. I think I'll read Yertle the Turtle. That's a fun one. You certainly do, Marita. You certainly do. All right. I think actually now that Marita's here, I think this one is definitely the one I'm going to read. It's called Gurtrude McFuzz. It's a little special. So I think this is gonna resonate with you, Marita. There once was a girl bird named Gurtrude McFuzz. She had the smallest plain tail ever was. One droopy droop feather. That's all that she had. And that one feather made Gertrude so sad. But there was another young bird that she knew. A fancy young birdie named Lola Lee Loo. Instead of one feather behind, she had two. Poor Gertrude. Whenever she happened to spy Miss Lola Lee Loo flying in the sky, she got very jealous and frowned and she pouted. Then one day she got awfully cross and she shouted, "This just isn't fair. I have one, she has two. I must have a tail just like Lola Lee Loo." Miss Lola Lee Loo with her two feathers. Oh, awesome. Not only have I got Kate here, I got Ben and Amy and Ollie and Ola. All manner of family. Hello, all family. Love you guys. All right. So, she flew to her uncle, a doctor named Dake, whose office was high in a tree by the lake. And she cried, "Uncle Doctor, oh please, do you know of some kind of pill that will make my tail grow?" "Tut, tut," said the doctor. "Such talk, how absurd! Your tail is just right for your kind of bird." Seems a reasonably sensible response. Oh. Then Gertrude had tantrums. She raised such a din that finally her uncle, the doctor, gave in. And he told her just where she could find such a pill. "On a pillberry vine, on the top of the hill." "Oh, thank you," chirped Gurtrude McFuzz as she flew. Right straight to the hill where the pillberry grew. Yes, there was the vine, and as soon as she saw it, she plucked off a berry. She started to gnaw it. It tasted just awful, almost made her sick. But then she wanted that tail, so she swallowed it quick. Then she felt something happen. She felt a small twitch, as if she'd been tapped down behind by a switch. And Gertrude looked round, and she cheered. It was true. 2 feathers. Exactly like Lola Lee Loo. Then she had an idea. I know what I'll do. I'll grow a tail better than Lola Lee Loo. These pills that grow feathers are working just fine. So she nibbled another one off of the vine. And she felt a new twitch. And then Gertrude yelled, "Whee! Miss Lola has only just 2. I have 3. When Lola Lee Loo sees this beautiful stuff, she'll fall right down flat on her face, sure enough. I'll show her who's pretty, I certainly will. Why, I'll make my tail even prettier still." Oh no, what's she gonna do? She snatched at those berries that grew on that vine. She gobbled down 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And she didn't stop eating, young Gurtrude McFuzz, till she'd eaten 3 dozen. That's all that there was. Oh, 3 dozen. That's quite a lot. Then the feathers popped out, with a zang, with a zing. They blossomed like flowers that bloom in the spring, all fit for a queen. What a sight to behold! They sparkled like diamonds, and gumdrops, and gold, like silk, like spaghetti, like satin, like lace. They burst out like rockets all over the place. They waved in the air and they swished in the breeze, and some were as long as the branches of trees. And they still kept growing, and they popped until round about sundown, when they finally stopped. And now, giggled Gertrude, the next thing to do is to fly straight home and show Lola Lee Loo. And when Lola sees these, why, her face will get red. She'll let out a scream. She'll fall right down dead. Goodness, that is quite a plume. Then she spread out her wings to take off from the ground. But with all of those feathers, she weighed 90 pound. She yanked and she pulled. She let out a squawk. But that bird couldn't fly, couldn't run, couldn't walk. And all through the night, she was stuck up on that hill. And Gurtrude McFuzz might be stuck up there still, if her good Uncle Drake hadn't heard the girl yelp. He rushed to her rescue and brought along help. Ooh, lots of help. To lift Gertrude up almost broke all their beaks. And to fly her back home, it took almost 2 weeks. And then it took almost another week more. To pull out those feathers, my Gertrude was sore. And finally, when all of the pulling was done, Gertrude, behind her, again, just had one. That one little feather she had as a starter. But now, that's enough. Because now, she's smarter. That's a funny story. There we go. See who's been here. Oh, there you go. There you go, Marita. I don't imagine your hair has required others to help you get home, but I did see your face pop up in the chat, or your name pop in the chat, and then looked at that story and went, "Oh, we'll call that a theme." Well, I mean, there's a it is a little bit of a cautionary tale for people with long hair. I think your hair, especially Marita, is probably of such that people might think is reaching a dangerous length. But I suppose now, with nowhere to go, you could hook it up to something in the house and have it follow you around. Get some helium balloons. See how many helium balloons it takes to lift up your hair. Well, I think I will leave that as that, and keep this first live stream under 40 minutes because that happened all of a sudden. And yeah, I hope you that saw it enjoyed it. I hope any who watch it after the fact enjoy it enough to comment. And yeah, I will probably do this again, and probably sooner rather than later. And oh yes, the dogs were barking. They hear the possum out on the roof, and they have to go and yell at the possum to get off the roof. Sadly, the possum is not particularly accustomed to listening to the dogs, and just usually runs off and growls at them. Anyway, on that note, and thank you for all those who stopped in. Loie, as well. Hello, darling. And Stephen, in isolation out in the bush, but still within range of 4G, it seems, which is good. Maybe the 3G. In any case, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for listening. And as Dad would have said, well done. Take the rest of the day off.